So much. My political panel's here with me. Simone Sanders, let me start with you. Obviously, there's no debate. The comments are abhorrent. Do you give ABC credit for moving relatively quickly?
Relatively is the word here, Jake. Roseanne tweeted those tweets at about 2:45 a.m. This morning. In a pre-Trump America, I totally believe that her show would have been canceled and she'd have been out on her tail by 8 a.m. for people had the Cocoa Puffs. But unfortunately, it took until late in the afternoon of many deliberations for the reason I think Tom just talked about, is that folks were thinking about how this would play with conservative America, with the viewers, and that is wrong. So I'm glad that ABC finally did make a move. We've seen companies like ABC and Starbucks make moves where the federal government has failed to act in terms of having a moral compass. So I'm glad they did it. But the fact of the matter is, I don't think Roseanne should have had a show in the first place. They knew what they were getting. Roseanne showed folks who she was a long time ago, and today, it came to a head yet again.
Well, and that's a question I'm hearing from a lot of critics, Amanda Carpenter. Bob Iger, the CEO of Disney, which owns ABC, said there was only one thing to do here, and that was the right thing. But as Tom pointed out, Roseanne had previously compared Susan Rice, another African-American woman who was an advisor to President Obama, to an ape in a different tweet. It's not as though this was the first time she had ever demonstrated a predilection for conspiracy theories or abject racism.
To me, this gets at a broader question that I think people far and wide outside of ABC are struggling with, and it has been pushed to the forefront because of Donald Trump. Does personal conduct matter? Does decency matter? Something that you talk about. Are you allowed to be a public figure and voice these really nasty thoughts privately and then enjoy a leadership position, whether it be in the media or in politics? I think we're getting to a better place. Previously, that answer was yes. She can say these things. She can dress up as a Nazi and hide behind memes and satire to promote really horrible things. And that's something that a lot of Donald Trump supporters do. Maybe Donald Trump has made people in corporate America rethink that kind of position. Personal conduct does matter. And we're not going to give these people a wonderful platform if they use that influence to hurt people.
I actually don't think so, Amanda. Look, previously, I would have thought in a pre-Trump America, again, Roseanne would have been fired much quicker than she was today. She was granted a greenlit of show, a reboot, after she was depicted wearing wearing an apron and a mustache and pulling what was, I guess, quote-unquote Jew cookies out of the oven. Very anti-Semitic. She had the tweets. And so what I think we're seeing here is that because of Trump, because ABC talked about the whole reason they gave Roseanne a show, because she gives a voice to people in Middle America. Well, let me tell you, I'm from Middle America, and the friends that I have from Omaha, Nebraska, and all throughout the state of Nebraska, Roseanne doesn't speak for them. And so I think there's a gross misunderstanding in Hollywood about who Middle America is and what it is in fact that they want.
Exactly. I also come from the Midwest. I grew up in a town where people lived in houses like Roseanne's houses, and it was refreshing to see lower to middle class life depicted. But my first memory of Roseanne was I was 8 years old when I saw her on television just trashing the national anthem. That doesn't scream to me republicanism. That doesn't, not conservative in any way, but I think big media misunderstands Middle America so much. They look at Roseanne and say, oh yeah, that's what they want.
Well, let me ask you a question, because among her many tweets this morning were a couple having to do with George Soros, lies about George Soros, who was a survivor of the Holocaust, about him being a Nazi, about whatever, just lies about George Soros. And Donald Trump Jr. retweeted some of these conspiracy theory tweets about George Soros. Now, you're not necessarily responsible for your own retweets. I mean, maybe he was...
Oh, I think you are, Jay.
You are, okay.
I think you are responsible for your retweets. You're responsible when you make the conscious decision to click that button. And so I hope folks are ready to jump on the bandwagon and call Donald Trump Jr. anti-Semitic, say that he is trafficking in bigotry and anti-Semitism, and that has no place here in America, and condemn it. I hope folks call on the president to address his son. He's such an involved father, as they'd like to say, since he was meddling in the putting out the statement of the meeting between Donald Trump Jr. and the Russians, if you will. So I hope we're going to hear something on that. You do not get to abdicate responsibility in America simply because because you have a certain platform or you've reached a certain level of status. There are many people across. I just harken back to Jamil Hill when she had the tweets where she called Donald Trump a white supremacist. ESPN anchor. She called Donald Trump a white supremacist, and ESPN moved very swiftly to censor her and suspend her for weeks.
And the White House called for her to be fired.
And the White House called for her to be fired. And so this assertion that for some folks, Roseanne was just making jokes or Donald Trump Jr. just had a retweet, folks need to start being held accountable. And I hope that we will call for the same level of accountability for, the folks in this White House, Donald Trump Jr. and whomever else, that folks call for others.
President Trump is going to be speaking tonight. I find it impossible to imagine he's not going to say something about this. What do you think he's going to do? Is he going to say Hollywood's trying to silence us? Is he going to condemn what Roseanne tweeted? What do you think he could say?
He may make a point about political correctness, which this isn't the issue.
This isn't political correctness. This is just racism.
Right. And what Roseanne has is similar to what promoted Donald Trump. She was alt-right before we knew what alt-right was, right? Everyone thinks, oh, political correctness. No. This whole hiding behind memes and jokes to push racism and anti-Semitism has been happening for a long time. Donald Trump in his leadership position has brought that out more, playing the both sides argument at all times. I would expect to see some both sides-ism tonight. And I'm sorry, I can't keep wringing my hands about what Donald Trump is going to do, because this needs to be a conversation about what other people are going to do. If you are in a position of media power, are you willing to regulate your platform in some manner and give up some clicks in the name of civility? ABC did the right thing. I'm looking at Facebook and Twitter to start doing more of the same.
All right, stick around. We have a lot more to talk about. Some breaking news on what went down inside ABC today and why they hired Roseanne in the first place. This isn't, of course, the first time she has said something racist or trafficked in conspiracy theories. That's next. Stay with us.